Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Stephen the Warman Writes KickFighting Podcast Show. I'm your host, Stephen the Warman. You are listening to this podcast in one of two most convenient ways, but various ways. Either you're at my blog, which is lordgaul.podbean.com, or you are on the iTunes search engine, and you enter Warman Kickfighting Show into the iTunes search engine, and my show pops right up. It's usually the most efficient way to get to the show. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the action. We will go ahead and start off with Glory 102/Rise World Series in Tokyo. First of all, before I even get into any of the actions, it's a candidate for one of the best cards of the year. The crowd was solid, but because we've kind of got blinded by the big crowds that we're seeing at the Glory European events, and the of course when K1 and Rise came together and made the Tenshin Nasukawa and Takeru fight, we're a little bit spoiled, I'd say, by the crowds that we've had in the past. I thought this was a pretty solid crowd. Clearly you could see that not every seat was full, but the crowd that was there were appreciative of the action. But most importantly, the action inside of the ring was what you wanted. You had some elite level guys really bringing their best effort and putting on great fights. We had knockdowns or KOs in most of the fights. It's what you want, and sometimes when you put elite versus the elite, it doesn't always happen that way. But man, this card really came together. There was a lot of fun stuff. I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. Won't do the whole thing. I'll do most of it, though. We will go ahead and start with Kazuki Osuke as he gets a TKO stoppage over Tor Silipon. Now, my thing was, Lanyaku Tor Silipon. This was a fight where Asaki was just relentless. He couldn't get him off of him. There were 3 downs, and if I remember correctly, not one of them was a actual knockdown where you had Lunyakao go down, gloves hit the mat, body hit the mat. They're usually just overwhelmed standing 8s, and he just couldn't get Kazuki Kasaki off of him. Ripped to the body, aggressive with the boxing, walked him down, sporadic kicks here and there, but mostly just too much hands, too much, with the boxing, too much with the forward pressure, and he was able to get a TKO standing in the second round. Next up, solid win for Ryu Hiroki over Momo Satsumoto, TKO in the second. Again, Ryu showed superior skill, very, very good. It's not that Momo wasn't talented or game in moments. Just one of those nights where it's like, hey, you ran to the better guy. Ryu put on a good performance. I'm excited to see more from him. Rentaro gets a unanimous decision victory over Sato. 30-29, 30-28, and 30-27. I've mentioned this before. Japan, more than any place in the world, they like their 10-10 rounds. So if you have not clearly separated yourself from the scorecards, you will see something like a 30-29, 30-29, 30-28 scorecards. But the right person won, and that's kind of what you want from the card. But we're going to get into that 10-10 round a little bit later in the card. Rasukido gets a victory over Atu Moeng Afam KO. I'm a big fan of people who, master the basics. If you can score 1-2s and 3-2s, solid work. I thought that Kido did good stuff here, but he, round 1, I think that it felt like he was the better person, the better fighter right from jump, and got the fight over with. Just too skilled in that one. It does not mean that Otto's done and we're never going to see him again. I just think that he ran a rough night to a really good fighter. But shout out to Rasukido, gets a victory. Next, we're going to move on to Yura as he gets a victory over King Tishing by KO. Again, master the basics. I believe both downs before he got the stoppage were just clean boxing. 1-2s, 3-2s, if I remember correctly. And it did feel like overwhelmed. It did feel like Yuri was the better fighter in this one, but that's how it's going to be sometimes. Like, you're not always going to get elite versus elite hard to the, end battle back and forth. Sometimes someone's going to prove they're superior right away, and you had that back-to-back fights with Keto, and you had it with Yura. Again, I really preface, as much as we're learning new things, and you start to see the calf kick come out, you're starting to see spinning stuff, whatever. A lot of times, the person that wins consistently is able to be better at the basics, and hitting 1, 2, and 3 too heavy, scoring big knockouts. Fantastic stuff by Yuri. I'm excited to see more from him moving forward. Next fight on the card, I'm going to talk about. This is a decision in a night where there wasn't a lot of them. Arturov Asiela gets a victory over Alanis Siang. UMass precision, 30-26, 30-26, and 29-27. There's a down scored in the fight. I actually thought Siang did a good job to stay in the fight after the down, but Asiela was just the better fighter. Just the better fighter was able to get the victory. Next up, Yutari Asahi gets a victory over Eduardo Catalan, and I am trying to remember the moment that it happened. I could have this down wrong, but I believe that the score or the knockdown in my head as I'm remembering it. I hope I've got the right fight, but I'm pretty sure I do. This was a stab or a teep to the body. We call it, in my gym, we call it iron toe. So like, if I'm remembering this fight correctly, and I apologize if I mix it up with something else, but I'm pretty sure this is the one. In this fight, when you get the uh, um, uh, there was good clean kickboxing throughout, but I thought that Asahi proved to be the better fighter. But when he landed the teep to the body, you saw Catalan break down to his knees, take a second, try to recover, but you can always see it was coming. He went back to it with another teep, a barrage of shots, and he gets the stoppage. I thought that was really good stuff by Asahi. I thought that it just shows that's another tool that you're starting to see a lot more. Shout out to Semi Silt, who, because of the size of his foot and the size of his body, he used to shoot that teep with the stabbing toe, and I was bringing people down. Starting to see it a lot more. I remember I worked a corner, I think it was UFC 200, if I remember correctly, and I'm in the back, and Daniel Cormier's back there, and he talked about how he took a body kick from Anderson Silva, and then he said, "Man, it wasn't the foot that got me." He says it was the toes, and I remember I said, "That's how he shoots it," and I remember his coach said, "That's how he shoots it." So this is a really good example of how people are turning body kicks and teeps into iron toes and like really digging in and scoring knockdowns. I think there was another one on like the Contender in the MMA just last weekend. Shooting that teep down the middle and stabbing with your toes, it's doing a lot of damage. So I apologize if I've got this confused in what fight it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Asahi. Asahi. I will look it up afterwards and apologize on the next show if I'm wrong. Next up, we had Dennis Wojcik as he gets a victory over Sorek Tepen. This one did not have it down. Dennis was superior throughout, stronger kickboxing. Sark never really got going, never really gave himself an opportunity. And again, sometimes you just run into that guy. And Dennis Wojcik fought very well, very, very strong with his boxing and his forward movement. He found offense consistently. Good stuff there. Tejas Satori gets a victory over Andy Torland, one of the cooler KOs you're going to see. They were in an exchange, and as they're in this exchange, um, literally Shiratori is moving backwards. And as he's moving backwards, he shoots a head kick as Andy's moving forward. Andy didn't see it coming at all. He scores the KO. Kind of both guys fall down, but he scores the KO over Torland. It was one of the cooler KOs you're going to see. It's one of those where I like when I do my year in kickboxing highlight. It's one that's making it for sure. It was clean. It was absolutely wonderful, beautiful work. Very good card. Next up, we have Ryujin Nasukawa as he gets victory over Jin Mondo Kuro, who Mondo Kuro put on what I thought was a very tough fight. It was 29-28 in all three cards. They gave Nasukawa, I'm assuming they gave him the first and the last, but there was a knockdown scored in the first round. So, those are strange cards. The broadcast thought that it was close, thought it could have been even, thought it could have gone to an extra. But I thought that Nasukawa, who you can make an argument that, as I mentioned before, 10-10 rounds. that he won the first round, just my personal opinion, with the 10-8, and then the next rounds could have been scored 10-10 both. Like they were that kind of close. The third round in particular is close. Both guys had moments. You can make a really good argument for Mandakoro in the second round. I thought that he did some good work, but overall, I thought Nasukawa was successful. I am glad that he's had a couple decisions back to back. It would be hard for him to live up to the pressure of, your brother was dope, your brother won by KO all the time, in terms of, Tensei Nasukawa. But that's not true. Tensei Nasukawa had some fights that went the distance. He had some tougher fights. Of course, we all know the Tang fight back in the day, but he had some resistance. So his brother, because of the success, of his older brother, Ryujin is getting, I think, unfairly. First of all, he's getting the recognition, he's getting the hype, he's getting the publicity that comes with being his brother. So there's some good to it. I'm sure it helps financially in terms of sponsors and paycheck, but also there's such an unrealistic understanding of how Tensei Nasukawa fought that maybe it's falling on Ryujin without it being his fault, because he still is a good fighter. He's young, small frame, but he's able to put together consistent offense. He's got the hand speed. This one, he said after fight, he said, "This is my toughest fight." And that's what you need to happen. You need to have that happen if you're going to groom this guy into, not just a future world champion, but a draw, like someone that people are going to show up to come support. And you could hear the crowd get behind him. So people want him to be successful. But I do think that there's such a thing as fair and unfair when it comes to athletes like this. So shout out to Ryuji Nasukawa. He gets a victory. The pressure and and maybe he's feeling it. I should note, maybe he's feeling, I'm glad to go out there and win, but man, if I don't win in spectacular fashion, I, I'm going to let the crowd down, or I'm not going to be like my brother, or I'm not going to be like the expectations are asking of me. So maybe he's pressing out there a little bit, because he started off great, scores a knockdown, and kickbox pretty solid, but maybe the pressure of I didn't get him out of there. Maybe I got to be conservative. I think he's taking it the right way. I think that he was right when he said, he was grateful for the opportunities to compete. He was grateful for the opportunity to, fight such a good fighter who tested his limits. He says, my hardest fight. We want that in the sport from someone who's 19, 20, 21 years old. He's got a big future. Next up, we have Chad Collins versus Kenta Hiraguchi. Here's the thing about this. It's going to be one of those fights where at the end of the year you think, hey, this is a fight of the year type candidate. It was not the cleanest fight, I'll tell you that. Like, there are some moments where it's clean, but there's moments where they were just banging it out. Kenta Hiraguchi scored a good teep to the body. And then I think he iron toed it. And then he went switch kick to that area twice. And Collins put his arms down the block. And Kenta went right upstairs and hit him with a head kick to score the first down. And, Kenta put the fist high. I think at that point he was confident. Hey, I landed something big. This is about to be my fight. Chad Collins got up and started fighting as if nothing had happened. This dude is relentless. There are a few times in my life where I've watched someone's fight style and I go, man, it would be miserable to have to fight this guy. Not because they're a big time KO hitter or they're lethal with the low kicks. Sometimes it's just people who kill you with 1,000 cuts. You just can't get them off you, and they just stay and they just stay. And Chad Collins just stayed on Kenta Hiraguchi for most of the fight. After he went down, he got up, and 2 and 3, they're both happening. Hiraguchi for sure had moments where they were banging it out with consistent boxing, but Collins was watching him down, rip into the body with multiples, and then go upstairs with knees and head kicks, clean boxing, and Hiraguchi couldn't get him off of him. Like, no matter what he hit him with, you can make an argument that Hiraguchi had a good round 5, but 2, 3, 4 were for sure for Collins. And of course, with the knockdown scored, he needed to do something significant. So when it went to split decision, it wasn't for me a robbery or the wrong guy was about to win. It was close enough to make that argument. You have a 10-8 round, and then that would mean Collins would have to win 2 rounds to get even it up, which he did, 2 and 3. So then you had 2 rounds. If you at the end you had 4 and 5. If you gave Collins 4, then that's kind of where you got your winner. Those are the 3 rounds, and then the tie round, so he's up 1. So then 5 would still be significant. You'd have to either call it 10-10, or you'd have to give it to Collins but it could have gone to Hiraguchi. So when they went to the scorecards and Hiraguchi got one of the cards, I know Collins was a little bit worried because he battled back. He took the knockdown and he fought hard to get back in the fight. But in my personal opinion, I was fine with the score. I was fine with it being a split. It was that kind of close to round five. If you rewatch round five, you'll be like, you know what, Kenta Hiraguchi really does have an argument. But Chad Collins really showed me something in this one. He's always been a great fighter. He's always been all action. He always, you can't keep him off of you. In his losses, against tough guys, one thing that he ran into is he had someone who could finally hit him and hurt him, like put him down. But as far as like just being, if you're still there, you're still available, he's going to be landing offense. So when you look at the Andrade fight and that kind of stuff, it's like you had a guy who could actually hit him and put him down. But Collins, I'm sure in this, era, they're going to fight more times. And Collins has got a good chance of winning one of these because he's just relentless and he scores so much offense. So congrats to him as he wins or he continues his run as the Rise Super Lightweight Champion. Great stuff. Congratulations. Lastly, we have Shiro Matsumoto as he gets a upset victory. I'd say, oh, well, a revenge victory, or however you want to say it, over Masashi Kimura. The fight can be explained to me in two ways. First of all, unfortunate, because Kimura had run into, what was it? The first round, second round, and the third round, he was knocked down by clean boxing. And he did a good job of battling back. But just whenever that happens, it was almost like when he got knocked down, what was it? The third round or second round, I can't remember which one it was, but he almost like laughed, like, oh my goodness, I'm down here again. Like just unfortunate. But he had those down, and then a scorecard wise, you're not catching up. Like that's pretty difficult. But it's a great fight to show your fighters if you're a coach because it shows what grit and determination and not quitting is. Because he really did battle back hard in the last two rounds. Like he fought. And there was a lot of dead time and there's a lot of, uh, a lot of, uh, you know, movement or what I call coasting, where guys aren't really active, but they're just kind of moving around and finding their single shot opportunities, maybe a combo of two or three here and there, but most of the time, combos of one and two, most of the time, looking for some clean offensive return. Um, the flow to the fight was only made by the fact that Matsumoto kept knocking him down. So after we get these three knockdowns, it kind of comes down to, okay, hey, what are you going to do to come back? And I thought that Okamura did a good job of battling back despite the fact that he wasn't winning on the scorecards. And that's hard. He could have stopped on the stool. Hey, I'm not coming back in this fight. I'm gonna go ahead and just sit this one out. Nope, he went out there, competed to the best of his ability. He did get the win, but definitely fantastic stuff. After that, Matsumoto gets on the mic and he calls out one Kaneko from K1. He said it'd be fun if they were able to make that fight. And that's what I want to hear. I want to hear people who are dope of the same weight classes. Not Doesn't matter what organization you're in. Just say, hey, I'd like to test myself against that guy. Doesn't matter if the fight ever happens. It's just cool that it was suggested. So really cool stuff. Really excited to see really high level kickboxing. It was a great card. It's funny. I've got DAZN for Glory, and I was boycotting DAZN for a long time. And the reason why was because I got it right in the beginning. And I kept it, and like I remember, I was getting Canelo fights, I was getting everything. They didn't have a paywall back then for then later paywall, then pay per view. You just had what they had on the broadcast. So I boycotted because my credit card information, it had ended. So then they were like, oh, so and so, you need to play. And I reached out and go, oh, this just the date ended. Here goes the same number, just a new date. And they're like, oh, we won't want to give you the old deal. You've got to be in the new deal. Because I had that great deal right in the beginning. And I got grandfathered in outside of like other, uh, uh, deals that came along, prices moving up and so on. Because I was in that first group, I didn't get moved up. So then once this happened, there was their excuse for me not to be in that group. So I was mad. So I didn't have it for like 4 years or something like that. So I got it back because Glory's on it. And I was grateful because it's got some of their library. One of my fighters I mentioned before, he fought, and the version that they have on the zone was much cleaner than what they had on YouTube. Just worked out really well. And I'm liking it so far. And they've got a lot more stuff. They got soccer and stuff like that. When I was here before, it was just boxing. So I've enjoyed it. So here we're about a week out from Glory 103, and I'm looking at the card. I was like, hey, do I want to do a preview show? I'll go ahead and look at it before I move on to one championship results. Uh, Levy Records is going to go against Jamal Ben Sadiq. Interesting that they'd go in this direction because Sadiq, technically, coming off a loss, you can say what you want, as far as uh, unfortunate and injury and so on. But Ben Sadiq is a star. Like he is someone whoever he's on their broadcast. He's got a fan base behind him. He's been in there with some of the best in the world. He was in there when the Glory and K1, like right as that mix happened, he was able to get on some of those cards. He's got a win over Remy Bonjowski. Remy was older at the time, but a win. Was able to compete with some of the best. Got a win over Rico Verhoeven. Verhoeven, of course, was one of the next two. Awesome fights with great crowd fare. He's a star. So here he is, at the top of the card, and then you've got Levy Rickers, who really, I've watched him improve and grow so much over these years as a talent, and he has gotten the closest to beating Rico as Rico has been in his grind. Now, of course, we know Grizma Chuck's got a victory over Rico Verhoeven, in China. But like, if I look at this card and I look at Ben Sadiq and I look at Rickers and where they've come from, it's a good fight at a good time. Both guys technically coming off of losses, but both guys draws and names because we know who they are. They fought elite guys, so should be a fun one. Can Rickers? He's got the ability to put together a jab, low kick, game. Like, just play the distance, be able to find single kicks that score. And but Ben Sadiq is always going to be a banger. He's going to move Clore. He's usually the biggest guy when he fights, or one of the biggest guys. A matchup with him, Cookie would be a little bit tougher because both those guys are clubbing it out. But like with most of these guys who are trying to play a point kickboxing game, Ben Sadiq, if he doesn't respect you, he's going to walk you down and he's going to find his offense. So should be a fun one. I'm excited to see where it comes from this one. I can't remember. It might have been a cut that caused him to lose the last one, not injury. But just trying to remember off the top of my head. I do think it was a cut. Anyways, then we've got Chico Kwasi as he goes against Mandi El Haji. Excuse me, El Haj. I just saw Andy Samalier's video where he was upset about this fight, where he says he's on the shelf. He says he's used some Moroccan guy from France that nobody knows. Kwasi, of course, coming off the two back-to-back draws with Bastati, and the difference being a knockdown in both. He was able to score a knockdown in both fights, whereas Bastati was able to carry the rounds. Quasi is another one that I talked about in terms of Chad Collins. Quasi is just so awkward and so unpredictable, and you don't know where offense is going to come. You don't know what's going to happen. That's what makes this fight exciting. It's the what if factor and what possible factor. Should be a good one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. On the card, it's good to have that mix because mostly it's heavyweights that are continuing in the tournament throughout the year. So that's going to be the nice one at the top of the card. Then we have Mori Chroma as he goes against Christian Ristia. Of course, Chroma and another one of the Fight of the Year candidates, as he's got the flying knee KO of back on the Glory 100. He's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and he's showing good skill. Ristia is talented. This is going to be a tough one for him. This is going to be a tough one. Already, we're starting to see replacements and new names in the tournament because of injury, but he's got a tough one in front of him here because Chroma is talented. But he's, been in there with some of the best guys, so I think that he's going to put his, really try to focus on the boxing and try to have a lot of success in this one. And then we have Apakchik as he goes against Inat Lanko. Apachik is a guy who we've talked about in this show many times. In an era of the grass is greener somewhere else, he is an example of that. He was in one championship for a very long time. I think he was maybe defending his title like once a year. I think one time, twice. Didn't have any new challengers. And all the time when he did fight, the new challenger wasn't someone who was in the promotion. It was someone that was signed to fight him. He didn't know who they were, or they didn't build, there was no map. Like when I mean by map, it's how did you get to the title? Was it a tournament? Was it I beat this regional here and I beat these three guys when I got to one championship and now I'm fighting for the title? He was frustrated with the fact that he was getting guys who weren't even, regulars in one championship for the most part. And then activity, and he wants to be the best in the world. And as far as heavyweight goes, Glory's got the best argument for the talent on their roster being the best in the world. So he's out of his one championship contract and he is now fighting in Glory. And we've talked about this before. There are K1 guys that have gone to one championship. There are one championship guys that have gone to K1 in different organizations, have gone to Glory. It's just the grass is greener. It looks better, or things are better in the other promotion or on the other side. It comes out all the time. That's just a regular thing. But Apachik is here competing against one of the fun fighters in Olanco. He doesn't pass anyone's aesthetic test. And if he wasn't kickboxing, you would have never guessed he was a kickboxer. He's short, he's got some belly to him, but he's got a great feel for getting his overhand. He's got good kicks and spots, and he's usually all action. But he's got a hard one in front of him with Rada Patrick. Next, we're going to talk about Nabil Kobash as he goes against Raj Azipor. I think Azipor is out. I apologize. I think he's out with the injury and he's been replaced. I can't remember who it is. Apologize for not getting that, but I'm pretty sure he's out. Let me see. Colin George is on this card, even though he's coming off a loss. He had the opportunity. I think he's a replacement. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this breakdown. There's some other ones, of course, on the card. El Koning is going against Mike Kana. Yuri, what is it? Farco is going against Nasipov. We had some good ones. Nabim Habar, I remember him. Alim Nachita. Sofia Ladani, of course, a regular against Shad Aponik. Two guys who've been fighting in Glory consistently for a long time. They're getting together. So we've got some good ones on this card. We've got some good ones, some good heavyweights, got some injury replacements and so on, but they'll continue the tournament. It's hard to do a tournament throughout the year. They started in April, and between injury and, just maybe, and you can win and be injured. That's just the nature of the game. So we'll see what happens with these guys, but that's the card. The last fight I want to talk about is Tayfun Askin versus Don Snow. I'm a big Don Snow fan. I met him out in Miami, him and his team. He's trained by Ivan Hippolyte. And I'm a big Tayfun Askin fan because when I was in Thailand, which just shows how many lives I've lived, he was out there. He was out there, training, and then I'd say more vacationing than training. But here he is, Tayfun Askin, had a very solid career. I wonder what it would be had he gotten to Glory or K1 or one championship earlier. But he got there after he had some wars and after he had, uh, been fighting elite level for a long time without having that big step up opportunity. So when he did get the one championship, he struggled. He had some losses and just the best of him, he took him a while to build himself into that spot. So he was no longer, able to be the athlete that really, really, put together one of the cleanest combinations to high kick flow that you're going to see. He was confident in his boxing. He's got the Andy Sauer victory. He was, he was in position. He was special. Like everything was coming together. But you get age, and you've got, despite all the good fights, the Jiraiya fight and stuff like that. He is a very fun, talented fighter. Was able to put together a very fun career, and now is he on the backside of it? He's still good and competitive. And Don Snow, this is the perfect fight at the perfect time for him to test himself. And Snow's got good wins over some elite guys, but he wins this one. He's, in my opinion, a guy who they used on the undercard, and again, he's got the Mahdi El Haj. He's got a loss to the guy who's fighting for the title, if I remember correctly. He is positioned well. He's got some good wins. I'm excited to see what comes from this. Like, I think that he's got the tools to be one of the best in the world. He could definitely win the title. He has that talent. So I'm excited to see what comes of it, and I want to see the best fight the best, and this is another example of it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this show up with one more thing. Um, Regan Ursel is a. Let me see. Just, sorry, bringing up my notes as we speak. Um, Wait a minute. Got it. Sorry, I had to bring something up while we were talking. So Regan Ursel gets a victory to defend his title once again in one championship. The fight took place. I mean, it's only half a round, but basically the flow to it was him and George Jarvis came out and they were playing a single kick game, no boxing really, playing a lot of single kicks and movements. And then he decides to sit on 1-2, and his right hand goes right through the middle of the guard and hits Jarvis. The moment this happens, I was like, Jarvis is in trouble. I didn't even need to see the rest of the fight, but he shot that right hand right through the middle and it scored right on the button. He's able to get power boxing that Jarvis's guard just couldn't get a read on, wasn't able to stop it. He scored a knockdown, and then he was able to stop the fight on the next knockdown. We are talking about one of the special talents, like a guy who has been, if you go to Wikipedia, if red is your loss and green is your win, he got a lot of green. He's got a lot of green. But now you have to ask yourself the question, what do we do with the legacy? So my first time seeing Regan Ursel was actually here in my state of Texas. He fought on the Legacy Kickboxing card, and he fought Cosmo Alexander, and he very well should have won 2 and 3. Like he should have. He had a really good argument for winning it. Cosmo won. Close fight. I won't say that it was. I'm all the way wrong here. I'm just saying it's a close fight. And then after that, he goes to China. He wins. 3 straight fights by stoppage. And he has maybe what was it? I'll actually look it up here. He has a loss to Motas Koef or Quat, and that was 2015 March 18th. And now he's won for a really long time. He has only lost to the Alexis Nicholas, and he got the rematch. But man, that's a whole lot of winning. That is what I just told you was in 2015, and we are in 2025, and he's got one loss in the last 10 years. He is not just winning, but he's stopping guys. His lion fight run was important. Not just that he was the champion, but again, winning by stoppage. He's got the big head kick KO. When he got the one championship, he's got the win over Nikki Holtzkin. He's got back-to-back wins over Nikki Holtzkin. Anthony Njokuani, remember he definitely he got a win there. It is going to be hard to determine his legacy when it's all said and done because clearly he's one of the best fighters in the world. Will we look at the one championship resume and say, oh, he got Nikki on the end of it? The problem with Alexis Nichols is they don't use him that much, So Alexis Nichols has got those two back-to-back losses and to Ursel, so they best of three. So he's got those back-to-back losses. He's been chilling ever since. And really, I think he fought in one championship once before. I'm looking it up right now. He fought one time before he fought for the title. So it's like it's hard to get behind guys who, as talented as that guy was, they just didn't build him enough for us to get excited about it. Even for this last one, with Jarvis, he's a talented guy, but we didn't get to see enough of him, or he didn't get pushed enough. It just is like that's the guy who's fighting Regan Ursel next. As far as talent goes and skill, he is fast twitch. He's big. He's strong. He can fight both stances. He's got great boxing. He's got good step knees. He's got good vision for seeing counter opportunities. And he's violent. If he gets the opportunity to stop a guy, he's going to stop a guy. He's in there. The only thing you worry about is, man, will they really get working against him that he didn't fight any of the guys over in Glory? Because Glory's got a very solid stable of 70 kg guys. Or excuse me, 77 kg guys. They got a good set, stable of them. They got a good amount of guys there. Will that hurt him when people look at his legacy? But, financially, they're paying him good and flying him out, and he's competing well. And I mean, I'm always for him in terms of him being a fighter and having elite opportunities and getting big time wins and getting big time KOs. And I do think that when it's all said and done, that's what this game is about. It's who'd you beat, how'd you beat him, when'd you beat him, and how many times did you beat guys like him? Like that is how you determine, what greatness is. And he is checked off every box, but it will be something you go, hey man, how come you didn't fight blank of that era? And that's going to come up. And that's not his fault. So clearly I'm curious, what do we do with the great and elite Regan Ursel, and how do we look at him historically? It's going to be something that's on my mind for a while. I'm curious to see how kickboxing determines what his impact and what his greatness is when it's all said and done. But till then, got a lot of fights in him. He's still elite. Hopefully, they put something together with him before the end of the year because I like watching him. But yeah, he's a talent, and if they were ever able to co-promote, put something together with Glory in one championship, where this roster could fight that roster, he would have some more interesting opportunities because of the roster that Glory has at the moment. But he's in Thailand. He's doing his thing. He's killing it. He's putting on a show. I'm excited for him, and I wish him all the best. One of the really, truly talented guys, skill wise, power wise, aggression wise. He's a special, special fighter. And I'm hoping that when it's all said and done, when we talk about the Cedric Dombeys and we talk about the Nikki Holtzkins, we talk about Regan Ursel being right up there with those guys. Thank you guys for listening to the show. I'm really grateful. Of course, you guys know I try to be regular. I'm at least trying to do twice a month now because I've been busy, but I'm trying to do twice a month. Grateful for everybody who's here listening. I will try to be back right after the Glory event. So probably not next week, but the week after that. 2 weeks is starting to work pretty good for me. But more than anything, I'm just grateful that I'm here to talk about great elite kickboxing because I really do love it. God bless and have a good one. Peace.